capes and conundrums. The problem with playing Bane on the Venom was that you had to let some things slide. If they got on your back, they had a 15-second countdown until you can get them off. And you're not allowed to simply fall backwards to crush them. Slam them against a wall or scrape them off with something. Or teleport. Or call in your nearby backup or any of the thousands of other things you can do when you're the size of a van and someone's on your back. The featherlight punches of the kid venting all his fury and frustration feels more like a light massage than anything else. Santiago is far from weak enough to be really hurt by this. There had been a bit of a misscheduling, and they had to shuffle things around a bit. But since the tests were still in a prototyping stage, all they had to tell him was that after the third test, things shifted fast and hard. So after the kid had proved that his cloaking skill made him functionally immune to anything the patrolling robots could use to find him. The more elite guards could actually spot him, but the normal sensors couldn't. So he triggered the false alarm flag, and eventually the wailing elite bots were just following him without effect. As after 5 to 10 alerts without results, and the other bots would start to randomly ignore the elite ones. He finished up just as the hunter would begin their sweep, and now he was having a big, dumb wrestling match with Bane. The emphasis was on big and dumb, as Albin could very, very easily maintain his cloak without issue. And Bane canonically cannot see the invisible. He manages to throw off the kid after the countdown, but as Albin is sent away, he grabs a venom tube, and it's torn away. That's the last tube, and he's in a vulnerable state. And here comes the next to last part. You think this will bring you victory, Batman? Do you think that this will stop me? No, it has merely... Santiago begins to rant before he hears a slight creak he has to ignore. He braces himself anyways, and the prop light slams down into him and shatters. Over here, Bane, Albin announces from nearby, fading into visibility with a big smile on his face. Right now, the last thing on his mind is how much things suck, and he's clearly having a hoot. Santiago, as Bane, charges, and the boy vanishes in another cloak to disguise the dive away from the charging behemoth, and Bane slams into the wall and hits the power cable, a blow that actually wins the kid the fight, as Bane staggers back and falls to the ground. Albin then spends a minute waiting for him to get up. This forces Santiago to break character a little. You won. Confirm it by tying me up. He whispers, and Albin rushes out and grabs one of his still overinflated wrists and starts trying to drag it to his chest before trying for the other one. He's under cloak the whole time until he rushes off and grabs some chains in the warehouse setting. He then ties up Bane's wrists and confirming the win. There is a chime, and Santiago sits up and pulls off the mask. Well done. We're definitely going to have to retool the tests to accommodate species beyond humans and Sonir, but you've shown us some more weaknesses for us to patch over. Getting things perfect now? Albin asks. Nothing is perfect unless you count perfectly diluted, which is where most assumptions of perfection come from. We didn't consider the sheer stealth abilities of a Yao-Ya, even one that's not much for hunting. This last test was supposed to be a huge challenge. You made it into a joke. Am I in trouble? Oh no, remember you're a civilian consultant here to help us poke holes and test the test. You did your job exactly as requested. Why would you be in trouble? Santiago asks, as he easily slips off the chain and tosses it away even as it fades away and the hollow chamber begins to reset. Still, you did pass all 4 levels. The badge is yours if you want it. I think I do. It would make an interesting souvenir. At least, Albin's mood visibly falls. At least it would be a happier one compared to... Santiago puts an arm around his shoulders. I know, but the sad part about life is that death is tragically a part of it, Santiago says. But, would you like to know a belief of my people? Of humans? Albin asks. Of Mexicans, the kind of human I am. Oh, all right. The dead live in paradise so long as they are remembered. It is only the forgotten who are gone, Santiago says before grinning. And I am unsure which day it is here on Scathach, but there are even days where the departed have divine permission to visit, to see those they love, to aid them even. That sounds nice, Albin says, and Santiago pats him on the shoulder before pulling away. It is. Now let's see what our official observers thought of everything, and that rather big hole you poked in our testing parameters. Santiago says, Thank you all for joining me. I am Dr. Malaise. I am a psychologist and family counselor. I have been hired to help sort out the issues with your family. Now before we begin, do be assured that your brother Albin's shadow is safe and in good physical health, while also receiving a level of help for his issues. What kind of help? Where is he? What's going on? How angry is he? One of the older sisters immediately asks, and Dr. Malaise holds up a hand for silence. He is currently working as a civilian consultant to the Undaunted branch in this city. This is helping him psychologically by distracting him as he also vents his frustrations. As part of his payment, I'm here to help sort things out. Oh, what's he doing? That's not important at the moment. What is important is my hearing your side of the story. From all of you, as you can, Dr. Malaise says, and there's some nodding. The 5 girls across from her have their parents behind them, and the rest of the sisters are looking in from the next room. With a touch of axiom, Dr. Malaise sends a swirl of energy to activate the button needed to close the door. Now, I've been made aware that Albin was suffering under Guarana's syndrome when he was young. How did this affect your view of your brother? Dr. Malaise asks, and all 5 girls try to speak at once. And after a moment, Dr. Malaise holds up a hand and then points to the rightmost girl. You start, please. He was just so fragile. When he was small, he was going to break, and I was so worried when I learned that normal boys weren't always that frail. And then he's not getting much stronger. He's going to be eaten alive and pushed down into nothing in the future. He may have shaken off the guarana, but he's going to be broken like a twig when he leaves home. He needs to be stronger, the first sister says, and Dr. Malaise holds up her hand to stop anything more from coming out. So in summary, you're afraid that your brother's gentle dispossession and relative frailty means he'll be badly hurt or abused later in life. Yes. And what is the intent of your actions? Trying to force him on a hunt by kidnapping his pet is more than a little extreme. If he can get good at hunting, he'll be able to get some respect. If he can keep up with us, he'll be strong enough to dictate his own life. Yes, it's bad, but I'm his older sister. I need to help him. Vusira, one of the mothers states. It's true though, I'm his big sister. It's my job to... Vusira, we talked about this, the mother repeats. But perhaps that conversation can be saved for later. But suffice to say, trying to toughen someone up rarely actually gets positive results. It almost always leads to nothing but resentment and a damaged relationship, Dr. Malaise says. Now, if you could tell me about the incidents with Beaky. Incidents? Vusira asks. The finding of Beaky, the numerous kidnappings, and this final, fatal incident. Not much to say. We went Tharasso hunting, and instead he comes back doting on a freshly hatched one. It was weird, but it made him happy, so that was fine. After that, it was the best way to get him hunting, the best way to get him stronger. Then the dumb thing dove off the rented ship without a damn shield, and now everything went to hell. Did you mean to hurt the animal? Dr. Malaise asks, even as her phone buzzes to indicate something is happening. She resolves to check it in a few moments. What? No! If there was anything that could get Albin outside, it was the silly thing. I liked having it around. I don't get it though. Tharasso wings are food and prey, not family. But he liked it, so I was fine with it. I really didn't think that it would do something like that. So you didn't hear the shield device clatter to the floor, or didn't hear Beaky fussing with it? Dr. Malaise asks. No, I couldn't hear it over the rumbling steam or the grinding sound of the lava serpent below, Vucira says. I see. And why wasn't Beaky in the pilot's cabin? The pilot was a local that really didn't like Beaky. I didn't think this would happen. I don't want to hurt Alban, I want him stronger. I want him strong enough that whoever he ends up married to won't just sit on him and crush out anything but what she likes. And what if you making him stronger does that instead? Will it still be all right? Dr. Malaise asks, and Vucira looks haunted. I just wanted to help. I don't want to hurt him, but he's so fragile that everything will. I understand. It can be very, very hard to find a balance. Though, please excuse me a moment, I have received a message, she says before pulling out her communicator, and she reads it twice to be certain. How interesting. What? Vucira asks. As I said, Alban is serving as a civilian consultant to pay for these services. In short, there are a series of 4 tests that need to be tested. We didn't expect him to go beyond the second. But he's passed the 4th and final exam, which is a massive stealth and evidence-gathering operation, followed by a fast-paced brawl. He's outright won. She requests more information with a quick text back. How? Is he all right? Thalison asks. I would have been informed if he was hurt, but I just requested more information. This leans into what I was about to tell your daughter Vucira. You see, young lady, there are many kinds of strength. Some of them are far more obvious than others. You and your sisters have one type of strength that is vastly praised and appreciated in many Yao cultures. Dr. Malaise begins. She receives her response to her inquiry, but ignores it for now, so she can continue this train of thought. Your brother very clearly has a different kind of strength, because it takes immense patience, force of will and ability to learn and adapt for a person to rear and tame a wild animal. Most tamed species have been bred to encourage more passive or companionable behavior. Beaky was not. Beaky was a wild Tharasso wing, and your brother likely got nipped, clawed, slashed, and attacked in many other ways by the animal until he was able to teach it otherwise. Even a newborn beast can and will lash out. Your brother endured that and more, eventually turning something wild and dangerous, and making it something, if not safe, then at least friendly. And I ruined that. Vucira says lowly as her eyes widen. Oh boy, if this is going to go the way it looks like. I'm a terrible sister. She has to cut this off. You made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. The difference between making a mistake and being something terrible is what you do with that mistake. Are you going to keep making it? Or are you going to do something different now? And what could I do? Vucira asks. Well, he likes taming animals. You could help him get his next one, or next several even. You can also take the time to help him with his passions. Be a part of it, rather than someone who just stays apart. It may even encourage him to go hunting with you normally. But above all else, even if you do nothing else, you have to stop taking what's his and holding it hostage to get him to do what you want. That is the worst thing you can do. And to be frank, I'm shocked it took coming to Skathak for it to finally have such a terrible consequence. Beaky could have easily been eaten or injured in any of the other forced hunting trips. Oh. However, you're still alive and so is Alban, which means you still have time to repair the relationship. It's never too late to try again, no matter how terrible the situation may seem. You really think that? I believe that, yes. I believe that of all things and all people. No one is beyond saving, and nothing is beyond help. So long as you're willing to keep trying to be a better sister for Alban and try to be a better person overall, you're not without hope. Understand? Dr. Malaise asks, and Vucira nods. The doctor then turns to the sister to Vucira's immediate right. Excellent. Now, miss. My name is Feiline, the girl says. Now, Miss Feiline, could I get your part of the story? What did you think about your brother when he was young and suffering from Gorana's syndrome?